Hello, Amplify You family. Michelle Abraham, your host here. And today I'm bringing you a really cool guest that I met a few weeks ago at the New Media Summit. His name is David Adelson. David is known for peace and harmony and all those wonderful things. David has got so many cool characteristics about him. He had a table at the summit, and this is why I'm bringing him on to talk about something that I learned at his table and during his presentation at the summit. But what I want to introduce you to the David that I've gotten to know. And so I want to read you just a snippet from David's biography, which I think is really cool. So, and we're going to talk about this in a second. So hope this is cool with you, David.
It's all good.
Okay, so David was told to just have fun when he launched his business. And he placed a 3-line ad in a week in an ad in a local shopper's guide in a small town in western Massachusetts. Then he would spend his time hanging out with horses and friends, only answering his phone when it rang. So over 1 year later, he had clients in Scotland, England, the Netherlands, Canada, Maine, New York, Pennsylvania, Iowa, Florida, North Carolina, and earning more than $90,000 a year and never really worked more than 20 hours a week. How cool is that, David? I think that's a really neat story just to kind of like give you a glimpse as to kind of like the cool person that you are. So welcome to our show.
Well, thank you, Michelle, so much for having me. I'm so grateful to be able to talk to you, and it was very fun and exciting for me to meet you at the event. And you, as I said, your card's been on my desk. It's been I've been wanting to connect with you ever since the event. So this is I'm very grateful for this opportunity.
I love it. Thank you so much for being here. And, you know, the parts that I didn't mention is that and another part of your biography that I think is quite funny is your master's degree advisors thought that you should be a stand-up comedian, which I think that's pretty cool. And instead you became a lifelong healer, author, meditation teacher, and developer. So you created over 700 products and programs and in like the consciousness and wholeness kind of space. So that's really cool. So tell us a little bit about you and how you got started in this whole space.
I guess the simplest thing is I think this is what I came to do. It wasn't, like a lot of people, you spend a lot of time in your, teens and 20s wondering what's going on and move from job to job and learn a little bit of this and learn a little bit of that. And I became a meditation teacher when I was 20. And I'm going to age myself here. So that was in early 70s. I don't remember, 72, 74. And I became a faculty in desktop publishing. I took photography. I played with art. One semester in school, I majored. I decided I should stop taking everything seriously. So I just picked all the fun courses. You know how when you go to college that, I don't know what they do now, but they used to have guidance counselors that would say, okay, here's what you need to do. And I was going to a community college, and their whole thing was, you're going to transfer to the state college, you're going to get all of this, get a liberal arts degree. And they told me to take German, and I don't do well with that language. So I think I lasted like 3 classes or something. It was just like, I don't do well with that kind of thing. And I don't remember, I never finished more than a couple courses a semester, 2-3 courses maybe. And then I started meditating, and all of a sudden it was just like, oh, why don't you take, art and music and writing and all of this. So I ended up taking more classes than ever before. My GPA went up through the roof, and I finished with, I think, 5 or 6 courses that semester. I think it was 5. And that was when I just said, let's forget about what they think I need to get my degree. Let's think about what brings me joy in life. And I was delighted to learn, decades later, that that's exactly what Steve Jobs did when he went to school, that he went for I don't remember how long he actually went for full time, and then he dropped in. He quit being full time, he dropped in, and he just took the courses that he took. And like him, one of the courses that he took was calligraphy because he wanted it. And there's an entire industry on fonts right now because when he introduced the Mac, he included all of that. So it was a similar thing where I just took all these courses that I liked. And then decades later, all of a sudden, the work that I was doing was creating these programs. And the first ones came out in art, and the second ones came out in photography, and the third ones came out in audio and video. And my dad had been in radio, so I played in radio when I was in high school. So, and recording stuff and music and everything. So it just kind of somehow nature organized it to be. But while I was going through it, I was like, shouldn't I be doing something? Shouldn't I be, And I never in my wildest imagination thought that there would come a time where I'd say I'd created 700 programs, especially when I made the first few. But I realized about a year ago that there were a lot of them, and it turned out to be over 500 and almost 600. And then I just created about several new programs that involved dozens of parts, and all of a sudden I'm over 700. So
wow, that's incredible. I love it. Well, you're talking to the right girl here who took outdoor rec in college because it was going to be fun. It was a 2-week backpacking trip and kayaking trips. So I know all about taking fun college courses. It doesn't matter what the end result was, but it was fun.
Well, the end result is it adds to your experience in life. And one of the things that, I'm very grateful for what's happening on the planet right now, even though I'm aware of the discomfort. I don't know when this is going to air, but for the coronavirus thing is going on right now, so everybody's quarantined. But one of the side benefits there, the front and foremost benefit is I think people are reevaluating what their life is about. And we're not here to have jobs. We're here to have experiences. So you doing that in school is like more fulfilling to God than having a 9-to-5 job with a retirement plan.
Absolutely. So. I've never had a 9-to-5 job in my life. So I just feel like that was just the right way to go. And actually I read something recently on a Gene's Key kind of thing. It was like telling a little bit about your Dharma and your things. I was like, I'm here to tell everyone that you're only here for a short time and to make the most of it, because I feel like, do things that you love. And I feel very strongly about, what you're saying right now too, about what's happening in the world. I think it's going to help everyone who are not living in alignment with, what they want to be doing. It's going to give them the opportunity to reevaluate what they're doing and spending more time with their family and their loved ones. And, maybe that 9-to-5 wasn't fulfilling and maybe that side hustle, now it's time for it. I think there's going to be some good opportunities that come out of this for sure.
Yeah. I was very fortunate that my father made his hobby his job. And one of the things that he always said so he loved his job because it was what he would have done if somebody said, here's millions of dollars, now go play. He would have done what he did. And he was very big on no matter what was going on, if we were like running out the door to take a test or a driver's license thing or apply for a job or whatever, he was very practical, and he'd practice with us, or tell me what you're going to say or whatever it is. And then as we were going out the door, he would just say, now forget all that and just go have fun. And that was fabulous. And
a great philosophy,
all kinds of
right?
entertaining stories that we won't do now.
Yeah, that's so
cool. So and because the podcasters that your audience, I think one of the reasons they're doing it is because it fulfills something deep in them, that they're feeling this is what they're here to do, or this is how they can support life on the planet, which I applaud them for, because that's a fabulous thing to, you mentioned Dharma. It's so cool when people finally go, oh, this is it. This is what I'm doing. And I understand when you're new, you're a little nervous and is it going to fly and all that. But if you feel in your heart, just go for it. Just go for it. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I just love working with our podcasters we work with. Really, I'll have one thing in common. They all have a positive impact message to get out there in the world. So I find they're really excited to get that message out because it's bigger than them and it's more about the people they're going to impact with this message. And I just think podcasting is such a cool vehicle to really do things with. So you have a podcast as well. So what's the name of your podcast?
Oh, my podcast is Here We Come to Save the Day. when we were looking at all the podcast names, we thought, let's have something fun and let's have something that people will, wait a minute, what's that about? And what it's about is I just interview people who have a solution, something that will make your day easier. I use the example of whether it's a better way to tie your shoes or get better gas mileage, or whether it's, something for global world peace. Whatever it is, we interview people and they offer their solutions, and we have fun with a lot of them. So it's very new. I'm very excited about it. We've interviewed people who, how to get your people to want to come to work, which is not so appropriate right now, but it's,
will be after this is over. How to get
right,
them back.
Right. And then we had someone who, almost died. His car tipped over underwater and got really sick and was in ICU for 2 months and took a year to get back. And his whole thing was about how to turn adversity into positivity. And it was really inspiring. And normally I have a shorter podcast, but I was really enjoying, so I just let him run with it and give lots of very cool points. So those will be out. So
yeah, they're awesome. I love it because you get to hear such unusual stories or so many cool things when you're interviewing people. I really think that's fantastic. So I want to talk about one of the 700 products that you have, and we can talk about lots of them, but one in particular caught my attention at the New Media Summit and was one of the ones that you were standing on stage talking about. So I'll let you introduce it and fill us in on a little bit about it, because I don't even know what to call it or how to call it. And I think that's the cool thing about it. It's this thing. It's this thing that you got to know about, guys, as podcasters. It's going to change the way our listeners listen to us. And I think it's a really cool thing that David's come up with that I think is going to cause a lot of peace and harmony in the world.
Yeah, and thank you for that. And thank you for allowing me the freedom to trip over my own words, because I'm never sure. It's a peace and harmony program. And to get it, you just go to peaceandharmonydownload.com. And right now, we're not even asking for an email for people to play it. You just go right to the page, you click play. It's a quantum energy program or higher energy program or whatever you want to call it. This is the field that I worked in. You mentioned in my bio, I spent, after I became a meditation teacher, I went to school. I started studying physics and consciousness and quantum field and unified field stuff. And that's the realm that I play in. And that's what all the products are about, have been about, how to bring a flavor. So I'm going to back up for a second. For those in your audience who may not be that familiar with quantum physics or unified field physics, they know the term, and then maybe they think that's too high end. I don't get it. I'm going to talk a little bit about what's happening in the world right now.
Yeah, please.
And what's happening is that all of the developments that have happened over time have moved the human race forward to the level of comfort that we're at right now has been through scientific discoveries, whether it was fire or the wheel or the steam engine or Copernicus and how the planets moved, or Isaac Newton with his laws of motion. So we've been operating and doing incredibly well functioning under Newtonian physics. And you'll remember from school that Newtonian physics is all about relativity. It's an object in motion tends to stay in motion unless acted upon by an outside force. So that kind of thinking has given us cars and planes and jets. It's gotten us to the moon. It's given us ocean liners. It's given us medicines. It's given us groceries and all kinds of fabulous things. And the basic premise of that is we're where we are. We want something. We figure out the steps. What is it that we have to move, change, fix to get what we want? So it's a very, I want to say, linear way of doing things. If I want a car, I don't say, I'll go get a car. I say, the first thing that we all think of from Newtonian physics is, how do I get the car? In fact, so often when you ask people, what do you want? they don't know what they want because they're busy figuring out how to get what they think they need or what they think other people are telling them they want. But that's a different discussion altogether.
That
Okay.
makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. But and so we can talk about the influence of others on what we think we want. But the main point about Newtonian physics is we are, whatever we want, whatever we're trying to create, whatever influence we're trying to have in the world, we figure out what we need to do to make that happen. So if you look at a rocket taking off from a shuttle taking off from Cape Canaveral, going into space, and there's a beautiful NASA, I mean, it's such incredible high definition photography, and it's gorgeous, and it's blue skies and the rocket and the orange and the red flames and yellow coming out, and it's just absolutely beautiful watching it go up. But the way that we made that work is, again, Newtonian physics. How do we make it work? And we do it by completely violating the laws of nature. Okay? Nature says gravity. So simply, I take a pen, I want it to hit the ground, I just let go. It is the simplest thing. We drop things all the time, even when we don't mean to. It's really easy. So why is it that if we're working in harmony with the laws of nature, it should be as easy to get something to fall up as it is to get something to fall down? And there's actually, and I was fascinated to learn this, in Florida, there's a museum that you can go to called the Coral Castle. And it was built in the earlier part of the last century by one man at night. And it is made, it's a house, it's a castle. He built this thing with blocks of coral that weigh up to 2 tons. Wow. He did it without cranes or bulldozers or anything. He did the whole thing at night in the dark, just with fences around or very privately. In fact, he first built it in one place, and then some people bought the property near him, and he wanted to do it in privacy. So he bought someplace 10 miles away, and he undid what he had done, and he moved all the big chunks of coral to the new place, all by him, 10 miles away, all by himself, one man, all by himself. And he built this big coral castle. And you can go see it, and you can look it up online, and no one knows how he did it. But he was this brilliant man from, I think he was from a similar part of the world where Tesla was from. And he said, science has it wrong, it's absolutely simple. But however he did it, he didn't tell the rest of us. So we're using literally millions of gallons of fuel to get this rocket up in the air, or to get these 2-ton airplanes to fly, 200-ton airplanes to fly, whatever they are. Okay. So that's all Newtonian physics. And we're very grateful because we can go to the store. We have cars, we have vaccines, we have all kinds of things based on Newtonian physics. But what's happening in the world is, since Einstein and what's been going on since then, is the advent of quantum and unified field physics. And the laws of nature, you know how when we dream, the laws of nature are different than when we're awake?
Yes, like you can fly downstairs and all those things.
Exactly. Yeah, you can do amazing things when, catch a bullet with your teeth, whatever it is, a bullet with your teeth or whatever. Well, the difference between Newtonian physics and quantum physics is as dramatic. And in quantum and unified field physics, it's the relationship between things is, for all practical purposes, non-existent. The rule of causality evaporates. So if you tickle unboundedness, unified field, whatever you want to call it, way over here on the left, it laughs on the other side of Jupiter. Okay, it can laugh anywhere and is not even causally related. And in the quantum field, a photon can pop into existence for no reason whatsoever. It can move backwards in time. It's a whole thing about Feynman, who created all these graphs and everything that made it very cool. So when you get to quantum physics, the way that you do things is you put in unified field physics is you put an impulse in of what you want and you get it. So the new rule, instead of I have to go through X to get to Y, the new rule is I want what I want and I get it. And the important thing about it is, for that rule to work, we have to be, you could use the phrase dharma, we have to be in alignment within ourselves and with nature. And then what we think and drop into that field is created. So are we good? Does all this make sense? Have I overwhelmed
Absolutely.
you?
No, it does make sense.
Okay, cool. So what happened in my work was that we started discovering how to activate particular flavors. So the unified field is, the official name is the unified field of all of natural law, the unified field of all the laws of nature, whatever term is good for you. And how it's described is A, indescribable, but B, there's nothing there. It's before anything has come into the world. It's before creation. It's a huge field of potentiality, but not anything. Potential, because everything comes from there, but there's nothing there now. So if you took your, Sherlock Holmes magnifying glass and you went wandering around in the unified field, you can't find anything. But the potential is there. It's kind of like a precursor to a seed. Okay, it's like the farmer plows the field and the ground is there and he can grow anything once he introduces the seed. That analogy falls apart because you have to introduce the seed, and we don't know what happens in the unified field to make it get excited and create the world. But it goes through the unified field into the quantum mechanical, quantum energy field, and then eventually comes into the physical world that we know. So I hope I'm not confusing people.
No.
Okay.
I love this stuff. I think it's interesting. Yeah.
Good. Thank you. So what happens is, when it has the potential for something, and that's the unified field, when we get to the quantum field, it's still not expressed. We still don't have the chair or the car or the heat or the light or whatever, but it's a little more expressed, and it turns out that you can find flavor. I call them flavors, qualities. Okay. So what we know from Tesla and vibration, and from Royal Rife, who did all this research on healing using vibrations, and all of these other people who laid the foundation for understanding vibrational qualities, it turns out that everything has a vibration. So there's a particular vibration for the microphone I'm using. There's a particular, and it's not just one vibration, it's obviously a huge conglomeration of vibrations that go to make it work. And the same for the chair that we sit in. But it also turns out that there are vibrations. Again, as Royal Rife started looking at, he looked at the vibration to heal specific problems, but it turns out in the quantum realm, there's a vibration for health. There's a vibration for love. There's a vibration for joy. There's a vibration for purpose, for prosperity, for so many, many things. And in my work, we discovered that we could go in and somehow coax out that flavor. So the analogy that we use is, we all know that white is actually all colors, not no colors, that black is the absence of color. Do you know that? I shouldn't assume that you do.
Yeah,
okay.
Yes, I've heard that, yes.
Okay, so when we go to the movie theater, which we're not going to right now, but when we go to the movie theater and we walk in, there's a big white screen. And then it becomes non-white, and we see the movie and we get caught up in all these colors and everything. So one of the ways that we talk about it is, if you could go to the white screen and you could go to one little part and you could say, let me coax out blue for the sky here. And we go to another part and we say, let me coax out red for the Corvette that the person is driving. And we go to another place and let me coax out green for the grass or the trees or whatever. And you start doing that. And that's what we found we were able to somehow do in the quantum field, Don't ask me how. I mean, I know what we do, but it's very weird, and it's
Just gotta
not
believe
anything
it.
I know how to teach
Just gotta believe
anybody.
your word for it. Yeah.
Yeah, and and we found that we could create and program art, pictures, videos, audio files, tinctures, drops that you can put under the tongue, little cards that you can carry in your wallet or put on your pillow. We just found all these different, pyramids. We have what we call magic money pyramids, which just attract money to you. So we have all of these things, and one of the things that we created is a program called Peace and Harmony, which is a video program and also available as an audio. And we have used this. People have had amazing results with this. It's completely silent, so with intention, we intentionally made it that way so that you can use it anytime, all the time. We have a nature sound version, but nobody ever clicked that one because you can't. The babbling brook drives you. As calm as it is, if you're trying to watch TV and there's a babbling brook, so we don't even do much to promote that one anymore. But people have had long rides in the car with, one. I think you heard Barbara talk about it at New Media Summit, where she these people have been traveling for 36 hours. They get in the car for a 3-hour car ride, and they were exhausted. And exhausted people tend to be grumpy people, tired. Let me take a nap, or at least feed me. So she kept playing it on her phone, and whenever she played it, they stopped their bickering. And then if she got a phone call, it would stop. So because the way that the phones work, and then she noticed they were bickering again, and she turned it on again, and she said, like, over this long ride, 3 or 4 times, every time it was off, they bickered. Every time it was on, they stopped.
That's incredible.
And people have used them in business meetings where normally this department is, bickering with that department. And we had somebody just play it on his laptop, not tell anybody. He's got a spreadsheet in front of it, but it's playing, and all of a sudden everybody gets along. We've had people get some of and so we're giving away a free version. And to cut to the chase, we're giving away a free version right now at peaceandharmonydownload.com. But we also have a version for podcasters. Shall I go into this now?
Yeah, do. So I would love to know how this works for our podcasters. So the idea is that we put this piece of audio onto our podcast episode, and then our audience can feel that same sort of like peace and harmony from our episodes.
Exactly. That's exactly right, Michelle. So what we have is, if you go to peaceandharmonydownload.com, it's going to take you to a streaming video, repeating looped continuous video, which is a great way to do it. But its power is limited by whatever you're playing it on. So if you're playing it on your phone, you can expect, maybe about 4 or 5 feet of peace around you if you're in a crowd, which you're not going to be in right now. But if you were, that's about as far as
we're all stuck there together, right? It's a good time to start doing this at home.
Yeah. So, but if you're in a field, it's going to be about 18 feet, maybe a little bit more. Okay. So it depends what physical stuff is around it. But you mentioned home, and we had somebody post to us the other day, to Jordan, you might remember Jordan, and the person said, again, talking about the family in close quarters relentlessly, quarantined at home. And they said, Monday night was horrible. Tuesday was no better. Tuesday night, I got your link and I played it, and it was a miracle. And I've been playing it ever since. And it's like, holy moly, suddenly we're all getting along. And you do that by just playing it on a laptop, play it on your computer, play it on your TV screen.
Playing, right? Like, it's not even something anyone will be able to hear. No one will know except for you that you're playing it. So you don't have to let everyone know and get their permission or anything. You just play it, right?
You just play it, yeah. And you can play it on your computer and then on another screen, in front of it, another app or another window, while that's playing in the background, you could be watching, Cops and Robbers or Bullwinkle or whatever you want to watch. It doesn't matter. As long as the speakers are on and you've got it set at a good loud volume, it's going to do what it can do. Now, but again, there are limits to how powerful these are. So we created more powerful programs. The one that we use for, your phone or at home isn't going to be strong enough for a broadcaster to use because, think about it this way. You've got 2 drops of blue color. And if you put the blue color in a glass of water, it's going to make a big difference. If you put it in a lake, if you put it in the ocean, 2 drops of blue color, what's the effect going to be? So we created a more powerful version for podcasters, which is an audio file, and it's much stronger. And you're exactly right. So first of all, you can play it while you're recording your podcast, but then even that's going to get a little diluted. So what we recommend is, most podcasters have an editor or somebody that puts the intro and the outro and maybe any announcements in between. So when they're doing that, it's literally, depending on the audio editor you're using, if you're using Audacity or some of those, you just drag the file on, put it on an underlying thing. It literally will take seconds. You just chop it off so the timing is right for your podcast. And if it's not long enough, you just pull a second one in and that's it. And then you save it and you're done. And it'll have, what we point out is a bigger effect than your listening audience, because even the hard drive that it's housed on is going to be having an effect. It's not going to be as profound an effect, but it's going to be having an effect. So if we get these on hard drives all over the country or all over the world, even that's going to be having an effect helping the world. And then all we ask is, our goal, I don't want to say our goal, our wish is that millions of people download this for themselves, the small version, to create millions of pockets of peace. And it's free. We do have more expensive units, and normally licensing for a broadcaster would be, it wouldn't be much, but it would be something. But instead of charging right now, what we're asking is you just say, hey, I'm using this cool program, you should use it too. Check it out. Be a hero. Dissolve stress and tension and fear for somebody who's experiencing stress and tension and fear. And just share it. So just a quick little 10-second, 15-second something about sharing it, and use it on all your podcasts. And we can really bring down the level of fear and anxiety and worry, which is rampant. Whether people are worried about health, or whether they're worried about what they're going to do for an income, or whether they're afraid to even go get groceries, or now people are saying, Amazon is having reported cases in their warehouse, so now you have to check your packages, and if it's paper, it can stay on the paper for 24 hours, and then so it's just crazy, and will my job be there, and all of this stuff. And we can just take everybody back to, something quiet. And we all know that panicked people don't always make smart decisions.
That's right.
Yeah. So this is my offer to all of your audience. Please take advantage of it. To get the podcast version, it's peaceandharmonydownload.com/podcast.
Perfect.
And it'll ask for you to agree that you're not going to manipulate it in any way. And it'll give us the 10, 15 seconds. And here it is.
Yeah, that's perfect. And for any of our podcasters that we manage,
and you'd be all set.
The edit, and for any of our podcasters that we do the editing and managing of your show, just let us know if you want to do it, and we'll do it. We'll put it into your show for you. So we'll make it even easier than that.
Cool. Thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Cool. Yeah. But you can see how that can make a difference. We had somebody have a unit in Canada, I think at the other side of Canada from where you are, and they got a unit that was a slightly bigger unit that they paid for. It wasn't a huge thing, and it wasn't that expensive. And they noticed two things. One is that the people in the apartment above them who had been stomping around and driving them nuts for years stopped. Suddenly, they weren't getting the noise from the people upstairs. And they said that they all started noticing as they got close to the apartment building, they just all started feeling calmer and they all started feling peace. We've had some really...
Get into your car and play it too, like so less road rage, or then you walk into your house and instead of being wound up from work, I guess like some people do, get there and it's just like peace. Yeah, that would be nice.
Play it at your computer at work.
Yeah.
Nobody has to know. And people have found that where coworkers used to give them grief, they stopped giving them grief. And if you're really smart and you have coworkers that you like, get them to, the more who play it, the better it is. Now, here's the feature, Michelle, that I didn't kick myself really. But after I got off the stage and I am presenting this to the people at New Media Summit, I suddenly realized that I had forgotten one thing that I should tell people. Do you remember that? I think it's a Maya Angelou quote that says, "People don't remember what you say to them, but they remember." Exactly. And one of the lovely things about having this on the back of your podcast is the core energy for the Peace and Harmony program is love. So when you play it, people will like the feeling. So they will listen more and they will recommend it more. So that the upshot of using it should be an increased audience. And if this is part of your income process, it should affect that as well. Yeah. So, and I totally forgot to mention, hey, it's going to increase your audience. I was like, well, that's what they want to hear.
Audiences are loving you even more. Yeah, how amazing. That's what we all want, just to have audience that will share the love of our podcast with other people. That's amazing. So again, for our podcasters, that is peaceandharmonydownload.com/podcast to get the piece for the podcast. And otherwise, it's peaceandharmonydownload.com to get something to play on your computer or play at home or in your car or at work or anywhere you are. That would be great. And I'm sure, David, you'd love to hear if you guys have tried this and this has worked for you. Where can we find out more information about you, David, and all the other fun things that you've got going on?
peaceandharmonycompany.com, peaceandharmonyco.com will get you there. And that's everything. But yeah, we actually have a comment section on the page. We have a group on Facebook where you can make comments. We would love to hear people's stories because we can tweak this if you're noticing some result. I mean, based on tweaking it, for instance, we were originally using Vimeo to host the video. But for some reason, several people were noticing that the video was stopping on Vimeo. So we are using YouTube link instead because that doesn't seem to stop. So there's little things that we can do to make it more effective for people. So please tell us what your experiences are. Tell us how far you're noticing the effect. Let us help you. We love this. And for those who want to do more than the 5 feet or my apartment or my house, by the way, here's a cute trick. Take all of your old smartphones that you're not using anymore because you've upgraded, download it onto that, plug them in, and put them in the different rooms of your house.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we recommend. If you get one and you're playing it on your phone, and then most of the operating systems will stop it when a phone call comes in, or if you're watching another video, take an old phone and carry it with you and just play that on the old phone. Yeah. We have devices we can sell you, but try it free, whatever works. So
that's so cool. Well, thank you, David, for all your wisdom and sharing that with us today. I'm so excited to use it for our show, and I'll test it out and let you guys know what we are experiencing, and especially in our home here when we have grandparents and kids home and parents home during this quarantine time, self-isolation time in the world. So let you know how that goes.
So good. So thank you so much for having me. We're wrapping up now?
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah, that's what it felt like.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
I'm so grateful for you for doing this. I'm so grateful for you for encouraging your podcaster to do this. I just, what we say is we'd like to create 1,000,000 pockets of peace right now in the world. And we all know how little bit of light, one candle can get rid of so much darkness. So 1,000,000 pockets of peace right now can make a very dramatic difference in how the decision makers are thinking and how the hospitals respond. We have a program, by the way, for hospitals, for prisons, for fire departments, also free for several months, and then it's some pennies per person, literally, like 5 cents or 10 cents or something. And we'll give it to them free during this whole crisis. So if somebody knows somebody in a hospital, we give them 2 programs, a peace one and there's a health one, health and healing one. So if you know somebody who needs that stuff, please let us know. The resources are on the page, and we're putting up a new page with some more free resources.
Awesome. Yeah, I love it. Thank you so much, David, for being with us today. Look forward to bringing you back again in the future and seeing what new developments have occurred since then. So thank you so much. Have a great day.